that direction because it needs to be a uniform thing throughout the state. Because if, in our area, and especially Jackson, the Gulf Coast, DeSoto County, if we close businesses and they don't close in an adjoining city, well, it defeats the whole purpose of doing it. So, we need that to come from a state level. So hopefully that'll be forthcoming. But right now, all we can do is go forward with what we have. And this is the first step. It would be, I would think, more likely than not that we will have more proclamations, more things to come that would probably require more special call meetings in the future. So this is, if you'll kind of think back to 2014 from the day the tornado hit, we did the state of emergency, brought that to the council, and then in the tornado we're dealing with the curfews and the maps, and we kept bringing those back to the council over and over. I would think it'd be a situation like that, and hopefully it's all an overreaction. Hopefully it's not needed, but that's something that we don't know the answer to. And you look at places like Italy, different countries. I think France has gone to a national lockdown today. It's not looking good in other countries. Hopefully it'll be better here. I'm not aware of any confirmed cases. There has been the confirmed case in Monroe County of 1 or 2. Now, just to be practical about that, my guess is that the person would be transferred to North Mississippi Medical Center. My guess is that, and again, for the media, this is my speculation only, but to be realistic, we have the largest rural hospital in the United States right here in Tupelo. I would think that anybody in the surrounding area, if it's serious, if they have serious complications, my guess is that they would be sent to the North Mississippi Medical Center. And so there have been no confirmed cases to my knowledge, other than the Monroe County cases that have been reported publicly. But at the same time, I would just assume that if those people are in serious need of medical attention, that they would be transferred to the hospital here in Tupelo.
What the council, what the city is doing now with these proclamations and whatnot?
What we're doing right now is following protocol, the MEMA requirements, the Stafford Act, to make sure that we're doing everything as a city that we need to be doing to be in compliance. So we're in an emergency situation. Legally, it's similar to just right after the tornado. We'll be dealing with emergency expenditures, staffing, doing whatever we need to do as a city to make sure that we have an appropriate response. So as part of that, we would anticipate MEMA and FEMA reimbursement at some point in time. The president and the governor have both declared a state of emergency. We've done that locally. So what we're doing is to make sure that as a city, we're complying with the rules and regulations, statutory requirements for going forward in an emergency.
And I apologize, I had to step out. So did they formally approve?
Yes.
Which was what?
Well, earlier today, I issued an executive order proclamation of a local emergency. Those have to be ratified by the governing body, the council, and that's what was done. So I issued, just like after the tornado, issued an emergency proclamation, then presented that to the city council, who ratified the emergency proclamation. So what that means is that the city of Tupelo, just like the president declared a national emergency, the governor declared a state emergency. It's a formal declaration of a local emergency.
And basically it greases the wheels for if you need help from the feds or the state, you can get a lot faster than.
Two things that it does. It makes sure that our department heads have the leeway that they need to do whatever it takes for the city to adequately respond in an emergency. And the second thing that it does is puts the city of Tupelo on a legal footing to be reimbursed by either MEMA or FEMA in the future.
You had mentioned, and guys, I'm sorry, I'll
It's okay.
jump in. You had mentioned during this about, sounded like you weren't ready to follow some of the other, like Ohio, for example, in ordering restaurants to close, even though the president came out and basically said, no meetings more than 10 people. What's your, if you would, just sort of sum up what you told the council?
Hopefully, those declarations will come at a state level. We live in a very mobile society that, if we do a proclamation locally closing businesses, that just means that the business is going to go elsewhere. Those proclamations need to be uniform. They need to be on a state and federal level. It's disingenuous to think that if you close a restaurant in Tupelo and there's a national or global pandemic, that they won't spread in neighboring cities or counties. So that needs to be uniform from a state level, in my opinion.
Mayor, I know that a lot of what you recommend and request is probably contingent, based off of what the president and the governor does. But from your perspective, are there any other plans to make any other requests or recommendations in the future?
There will be. So what we're trying to do is be as responsive as possible. We want to be as measured as possible. There likely will be additional steps. What we'll do as a city is follow the CDC guidelines, the Mississippi Department of Health. What we want to do is the least restrictive order possible at each step. So, there could be more. I would imagine there likely will be more restrictions in the future. Looking at Italy, looking at France, looking at other states in the United States, other cities, the way this is spreading. So what we want to do is just take it one step at a time, be measured, be fair to our businesses, our citizens, to the people that have to visit the city of Tupelo every single day. And we will just going to take it one step at a time and be as proactive as we can each step of the way. First, I'd applaud Governor Reeves for taking that step, for taking this seriously and activating the National Guard. Our local hazmat team has already been in contact with North Mississippi Medical Center, and they're ready and on standby in case it's needed. That's where we have to be proactive in flattening the curve, so to speak. The hospital, again, we have a world-class facility right here in Tupelo. What we have to be mindful of is that the best facilities in the country can't handle thousands of people showing up at one time with this. So the National Guard, the Tupelo Fire Department hazmat team, we have the equipment to put up tents in front of the hospital if we need to. All that'll be made available if we need to. Our fire department's prepared for that. What we have to do is, as a society, is do our part so that hopefully it doesn't come to that.
By the way, I think it was Buddy who was asking, hey, he mentioned Blue Suede Cruise. At what point do you go, how far out do you go before you say, well, we can't do that, and I know, it's May, isn't it?
Yeah, that's May.
We're still a ways out, but still, how far can you go before you say, hey, we got to look at that event, we got to look at that far out?
Well, right now, our mindset as administration is to do the least restrictive measures possible every step of the way. So right now, we've basically looked at the next 2 weeks until April 1st. The likelihood, what it looks like is, some of those measures would continue into April. We're not ready right now to say that we're not going to host an event in May or something like that, but it's a possibility.